Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Satnam Shri Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Frida kale mende kapde, kala menda ves, gunhi parya main firan, lok kahen darves, tu dariyao दाना बिना मैं मछली कैसे अंत लहाँ, जह जह देखा तह तह तू है, तुझते निकसी फूट मरा, हमरी गणत ना गणिया काई, अपना बिरद पछाण, हाथ दे राखै कर अपने सदा सदा रंग मान, साचा साहिब सद मेहरबान, बंद पाया मेरे सतगुर पूरै, होई सरब कल्याण, जियो पाए पिंड जिन साजिया, दिता पैनन खान, अपने दास की आप पैज राखी, नानक सद कुर्बान, दंडोत बंधन अनक बार, सर्व कला समरथ, डोलन ते राखो प्रभु, नानक दे कर हथ, डोलन ते राखो प्रभु, नानक दे कर हथ। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Today we're going to take a step back. First going to recap a little bit, and then I'm going to go into some depths of Sangat, sadhus and things like that. Then we'll furthermore go into more of what Sookhsham Sareer and those type of concepts are about. So as I do always, I'm going to test you guys now. And my first question is this, is what is the Akhri Arth of Dharm, and what is the meaning of Dharm? So it's a bit difficult to continue on if we have blank stares after each of the classes, because that means we haven't fully grasped the previous idea. Not just grasped as in when I say it we'll remember what it means, actually in a way that you can actually speak about it. If you can speak about it to other people, that means when certain concepts come in your life or come in front of you within Gurbani, or just in your life in general, then those concepts will come in front of your eyes. If not, if you just kind of remember it when it's given to you or when it's put in front of you, then you're not going to remember it odna, because then it's not fully inside you. This is why the concept of abhyas is very similar to this. It's not just you read Gurbani once and it's good and you're good to go. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦ੍ਰਿੜ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, same with Simran, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਮ ਵੀ ਦ੍ਰਿੜ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ. You're going to do it again and again so much that it's implemented inside of you that you never forget. For somebody, an example is somebody that wants to practice or wants to become the best soccer player in the world, best football player. If he goes to a soccer practice and the coach says kick into the net, and he kicks the ball goes into the net, and he's like, that's it, I've got it. And he put him into the middle of a game, and he's going to fail as soon as he gets the ball. Somebody comes running at him, the pressure's on, it's last 30 seconds left in the game, and you have to kick with the goalie in front and everything, and you have to you're running, you're huffing, you're puffing, then you have to kick that ball and perfectly get it into the net as well. It's less likely to happen then. Why? Because it's not fully deeply ingrained inside of you. That's why Bani vi jadon padhni aapa, Nitnem vi karna ya, Gurbani Katha vi sunni ya. It's actually part of the 52 Hukamname, the 52 Hukams of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Pacha, to listen to Katha every single day. which is one of the things we forget to do. We read Bani every day, and we might listen, you might play a Kirtan track every day, but do we fully listen to Katha every single day, Gurmat Vichar every single day? Because sometimes with the Kirtan, with the Simran, you get the Anand, you get the experience, but sometimes even the experience may not make sense to you at that time. So that's why Gurbani can actually push your experience of Simran and Gurbani much further. The reason why Maharaj gives us the hukum to actually go and look into the depths of Gurbani, understand that Gurbani, then singing it is a completely different world. ठीक है? That's why Katha, Vichar vi karne, Sarmanik vi karna, sab kuch. So on the same note, that child is practicing, alright? And he has to practice. What if he becomes the best in that league? Even then, he wins in that game. He's able to make that goal every single time. But then when he goes into a more difficult game or a more difficult league, it's going to become less possible for that ball to go in. That's why that drir or the Naam Simran has to be, that practice of that soccer player or the football player has to be kept up every single day on a daily basis. Their life ends up revolving around that abhyas. Okay, so my question again is, what is dharm? What is the meaning of dharm? You can look in your notes now. Okay? So dharm, the kriyarth, it comes from a Sanskrit word meaning taran karna. Okay? Meaning implementing yourself. And the meaning of it would be a niyam, meaning a law, a rule, an obligation. Okay? So our entire first day was based around this. Tarmi. What are the 10 signs of a tarmi person now? We went over this last week as well.
Kima, ahimsa,
Dan, yeah. Daya. So I'll go through them again. Khima, ahimsa, daya, mrid, sat bachan, tap, dan. Seal, Soch, Trishna Bina. See, those are the 10 signs. Okay? So I want to be giving more of this, but if we can't memorize this, because then these are the 10 signs of a tarmi person. Then there's the 10 signs of a good person. Then there's more signs, 6 signs of a sadhu. Like what is a Mahampurukh sadhu like, right? Then there's certain signs, lachan of what true Sadh Sangat is like. ठीक है? एक concept, just memorize after memorize. Because next time, if you face a situation, you are unsure what you should act like or what you should do in a certain situation, whether you want to know if this Sangat is right for me or not, then you should be able to base it around Gurbani and pull out, just not these arths. We're just going through the arth right now. When we take these arths, eventually I want to start adding Gurbani Pangtiyan. When we say Mahma Sadhu Sang ki suno mere mita, right? Pingal Parbat Par Kare Chal Khalchatar Bagita. All these certain Pangtiyan that come in Gurbani, they're explaining what Sangat is like as well. But we're just quickly skimming over the Akri Arth of some things. Okay? So one thing that I want to go over quickly, because we're going to take a step back first. A step back is this, that there is a lion. The lion goes and he looks inside of the well. He looks inside of this well where there's water and he sees another lion. He looks at that lion and get what does that lion do? What?
He does what he does?
So he acts exactly so it's mirroring the lion. But the lion thinks it's a different lion. The lion doesn't know that it's a reflection of him. So yesterday we spoke about 2 concepts. I explained to you bimb and pratibimb. What do those 2 words mean? Sorry? Yeah. So the actual form and the reflection. Take care. So what was that? Actual form and reflection, and those 2 words are bimb and pratibimb. Okay? Bimb is the actual form. Pratibimb is the thing that's reflecting off, is the reflection of it. So now, that lion is looking at its pratibimb, right? But that lion thinks it's another lion. And that lion gets full of ankar. What does he do? It roars at the reflection. But what does that reflection do now? The reflection roars back. So and the sound even hits the water and comes back to him. So he actually believes that there's another lion in front of him. We're speaking about doubt. The lion looks at the reflection, it screams and it keeps on roaring again and again. He's thinking in his mind, this lion is not even getting scared. It darda hi nahi hega. What the lion ends up doing then is it gets ready to fight. The lion gets ready to fight, and when it gets ready to fight, it jumps into the well and dies. Okay? So its own doubt killed him. Now we're speaking about andhakar, we're speaking about doubt, and what the value of gyan or vidya is to get rid of that doubt. Okay? Or else you just get lost in that. Now I'm going to speak about another example of a doubt. So there's a snake, right? The snake is going and it gets into a battle between a mongoose, or jinu chakundar keh dinde ya. So chakundar is there, and what the thing is between a snake and a chakundar is, when they get into a fight, the snake has grabbed onto the chakundar in its mouth. It's holding onto that. It's holding onto it. It's in its mouth. So it's grasped onto it, but it's in a problem now. So it's stuck. It can't go one way or the other. Is that if it lets go of the chakundar will poke the eyes out of the snake, right? And it will kill the snake. And the snake will go blind. But if it eats the chakundar, if it eats it, then the snake will get gored, it will become diseased, and the snake will die. So the snake is in a lose-lose situation. It's stuck, the chakundar is in its mouth. If it lets go, the snake dies. If it eats it, the snake dies. What can it do? It can't do anything. This is how certain people feel in life when they're in doubt. They feel they can't go one way and they can't go the other way. So they just get lost in this cycle of just looking upon reflection but believing it's real. Believing that reflection is real, but not recognizing that that reflection is itself, but it's not actually something different. We think everything in the world is different than us. So what do? We go, because we have the agyan, we go and we are going and we're looking at somebody else and we're blaming them, we're fighting them. We look at somebody else in the world, we might even look at our own minds, and we have this doubt. But how does gyan come and it completely gets rid of that? Only through vidya, through a vidya guru, which we spoke about in the previous days. Now anyways, coming back to the example of the sap and the chakundar. It's holding on to its mouth. I want to ask this question to you guys. How can that snake get out of that situation it's stuck in now? Nandi? Sorry?
Avoid the encounter in the first place.
Okay, avoid the counter in the first place, but you can't avoid it now. You're stuck in this world. Doubt has come. How can you get out of it now? Mukti kivan pai ja sakdi hai?
Like you could surrender to the chakundar.
What?
You could surrender.
Surrender to the chakundar? Yeah, if it surrenders, it lets go and it's going to poke its eyes out. The chakundar is not a nice guy. What can it do? Huh? There's one thing that chakundar can, or the sap can do. So in this situation, the sap is you. You are the snake, right? You are the snake in this example. I'm not calling you a snake. You were the snake in this example. And what happens is it's stuck in either way. It's in doubt. So either it's in pain or pleasure, or it's in doubt, or it's difficult situations in this life. One way or the other. It's stuck. It feels lost. What the snake can do is a snake can take a really long breath. Right? The snake is able to take a really long breath, and the chakundar can't breathe for that long. So what the snake can do while it's holding its mouth, it can go into the nearby river or water or the lake or whatever is there, go into that body of water, go into the water, hold its breath there until the chakundar dies inside of that, and then it can let go of it there. Okay? The answer to this is, when you're stuck in doubt, the snake, you go die or lie down, and you completely take all your problems into the Sangat. With the Sadh Sangat, the doubts are dispelled, and that's why the snake can gain mukti there. Okay? So you go into the Sadh Sangat. The Sadh Sangat is the only thing that can relieve you out of your doubts. So now we're going to come to Sadh Sangat in itself. Right? So keep that example in mind, because that example is usually used a lot. You might hear this example of a sap and a chakundar come here and there. Somebody in katha, they might use that example to help explain something else, because they might already expect you to know that example. Okay, this is why sometimes we don't understand katha, because like they think they're like, this is a very simple thing. Let's quickly say this and move on, because you know other people in that darbar might be sitting there listening to katha, and they probably all know all these examples because they've been listening to katha every single day since they were maybe 8 years old, and now they're 68 years old. For the last 60 years they've been listening to katha. So but now when an 18-year-old goes into the darbar, or 28-year-old, and they've never listened to a katha, so in katha terms their experience in katha won't be that much, and the katha vachik might say very quickly, just like the rain bird and the rain cloud, and jump to the next example. You'll be like, what rain bird, what rain cloud, or what sap and what chakundar, or what bumblebee, pavra, and what kamal da full. Right? These examples are there. So moving on to Sangat now. I'm not going to get into it just yet, but I'm going to just quickly share a few things. We'll get more into it a bit later when we get to Sadhuan de Lachan. There's something called At Kirpal Nehdrochit Santi Sansilta Sar. So these are speaking about the lachan, the qualities of a sadhu now. Not just a tarmi person, not a regular good person. This is speaking to a tarmi person. At Kirpal, At Dikrpal, Nehdro. They have no dvash or anything. They have no ahinsa. Right? Meaning they're not violent. Nehdrochit Sansilta Sar. And they have santa, they're very calm, peaceful. This is just one, there's more to it as well. But I'm giving you a sneak peek that this is continuous on afterwards. But coming back to that point of Sangat. So Sangat in itself, you go to the Sadhu and the Sangat. Let's speak about what the quality of the Sadhu and the Sangat has upon you. So it dispels your doubt, right? It gives you peace and comfort, right? Emotionally, internally. And it gives you gyan through that. Gyan vi sadhu and the sangat vichon milda hai. So you get the sadhu and the sangat, you get that gyan, and that is what's going to go into that mind of that lion or that tiger. Is going to go into that mind of that lion, and he's going to be able to look inside of that well and be like, no, this is not me. It's not going to get angry over its own ankar, over its own vice. Instead, it's going to go and it's going to recognize that this is something else. This is me. So this is what the quality of agyan and gyan is. You look upon this world and you recognize that everything is that Brahm Swarup. Everything is Akal Purkh. And then it goes back into that concept when what we said, Sat, Chetan, Anand Swarup. Sat, Chit, Anand. Right? So these qualities, that goes back to that. And it becomes the experience of that. But before we go into that, I'm going to ask you guys now the question before we move forward. Explain to me the Asthool Sareer. Okay, physical body, more. Explain. Yeah, 5 elements. Okay. Andy? Sam, Dam, Adik. Yeah, so though Sam, Dam is different than Asthool. Sam, Dam, just literal meaning of Sam, Dam. Sam means stopping your mind from going after vikars. Vishay vikaran wale pason to rokna. That's what Sam is, your mind. Dam is stopping your indriya from going after the panch vikar. ठीक है? So one is Sooksham, one is Asthool in that. Sam, Dam, Adik. Adik just means etc. Along with that. Does that make sense to everybody? Before we get into other things. Cool? That makes sense? Now explain to me the Sooksham. Just in a brief way. I know we haven't gotten too much into it yet, just briefly. Andy? Non-physical, okay. More about it. Andy? ठीक है. Explain to me the Karan. Karan Sareer. Anji. ठीक है, कोई नहीं. I want you to explain to me now, in all of this, what is your end goal? What is your end destination that you're trying to reach? Anji.
Meet God.
Meet God. Okay, what do you mean by meet God? Go to Sachkhand, okay. What is Sachkhand?
The destination.
Yeah, okay, what is that destination? So the end destination, what we spoke about, is the realization. What Brahmavastha is this. It's the self-realization that you are a Kalpurk. Right? So first there is separation, recognizing the separation, and then once you recognize the problem, then you can get rid of that problem. If you don't, sorry?
Jyoti Jyotsmana.
Jyoti Jyotsmana, meaning going back and becoming one with God. So meeting God is one, but meeting God actually means becoming one with God. If something, water meets with water, if they touch, guess what happens? They mix. So when water and water mix, or air and air, if air meets air, it can't just be side beside each other and be like, hello air, how are you doing? Right? You can't do that. It doesn't speak. Air just mixes with the air. The water just mixes with the water. And that's what it means by going and becoming one with the Kalpurk. This is what the self-realization is, that a Brahm Avastha is, that while living Asthool, so all three of those cities, they're intertwined with each other, I said. Right? They're mixed in each other. It's not one layer after the other, after the other. There's a separate concept that speaks to one layer after the other, after the other. But this is the makeup of the world, and they're intertwined with each other. So intertwined, as in the Sooksham and the Asthool, they work with each other. And the Karan is the cause of both the Asthool and the Sooksham being there. Right? But even if the Karan is not there anymore and the Karan Sareer is moved away, the Asthool and Sooksham can still be there. Hence what we say when we say a Brahm Gyani Mahapurkh. So somebody that has no cause of separation, there is no separation, but the physical body is there, still there, meaning internally they have gotten to the realization of Akal Purkh, have come to that realization, their mind is in the Sat Chit Anand Sroop, yet their Sooksham and Asthool Sareer body is still there. So after, what happens afterwards is, if I take a clay pot, you guys can imagine a clay pot, right? Inside of that clay pot there's air. Outside of that clay pot there is air. When I drop that clay pot, when I break the clay pot, it is just become one. Even though I use this example for the clay, the air inside the clay pot is still the same as the outside. It still is air. It might even be mixed with it, because the clay pot, it still has an opening, so the air is still changing. It's not fully separated. It's not actually separated. It's just identified as something else. So until it's still there, the air might be changing. If the hot and cold air might be going in and out of the pot, but while the pot is still there, we still say the air that's inside the pot, right? Even though in 2 seconds the air that's inside might go outside and the air outside might come inside, the air outside is still called the air outside, the air inside is still called the air inside. The air in this room is still called the air in this room, right? The air outside is still called the air without a roof, because it's the sky, right? It's mixed with the sky. Even though there is no difference, we might open the window and the air is just crossing. Even though we might open 2 windows and the air is crossing. But it's still known as inside and outside. But as soon as the clay pot isn't even there anymore, then it just is one. Right? So with the clay pot, meaning this body, Marti ka putra kaise nachat hai, this body itself, it is still one, but it can be identified as two. Right? Now the doubt is when you do identify as it truly being separate. And Gyan is when you realize that it is the same thing together. So the Asthool, Karan and Sooksham, they're all there. This is what your makeup is. You're made up of the physical, you're made up of the non-physical, and you're created by that separation. Because we read in Barney, once you understand how this is in place, and you can alleviate They say, Avan jana hukum te seka. Coming and going into the world, that is hukum. You have no control over that. And avan jana hukum te seka, hukum hai buj samavenge. By understanding the hukum, by understanding that hukum, you can become one with the Kalpurk. Hukum hai buj samavenge, bahod hum kahe avenge. Then after that, what is the purpose of me even coming into this world? What is the purpose of me coming into this world? Reason being why? Because there is no point. You have no karma. You have no point. Reason being, unless obviously there's a different. If you're sent, then it maras the hukum, right? That's a whole different concept on its side. But I do want to share this one shabad with you. I've been sharing this shabad in camps and other places for a while now. This is a shabad that will help you understand what this concept is saying. It's a shabad of Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj. Okay, the first line is Akhi Bajjon Vekhana. This is how going to help you understand the difference between Asthool and Sooksham. ठीक है? So the difference between physical and non-physical. First line is Akhi Bajjon Vekhana, Vinikanna Sunna. Meaning that this thing is you by seeing God. God is not seen with these eyes. Akhi bajjo vekhana, vinikanna sunna, not by hearing either. You can't hear God with these ears. What is this speaking about? Because you're saying it could be with this. Akhi bajjo vekhana, vinikanna sunna, पैरां बाजूं चलना, विन हत्थां करना. So it's not by, you can't walk on this path with these feet, and you can't do anything for that with your hands. Because पैरां बाजूं चलना, you have to walk that path without feet. How can somebody walk without feet? How can somebody see without eyes? How can somebody hear without ears? How can somebody do anything with their hands, to do seva, anything without hands itself? Then say jibbe banjo bulan. How can somebody possibly speak without a tongue? And once you understand this, how this is done, because we just spoke about 5 different body parts right there. These are your karmindre. These are things that we just spoke about. These are your karmindre. So there's something called Gyanindre and something called Karmindre. Write this down. ठीक है? So these, I remember I said 17 things make up your Sooksham, right? These Gyanindre, Karmindre are part of that. Gyan Indre are your 5 senses. So sight, smell, hearing, tasting, and touching. I said all 5, right? Okay. So let's keep it at that for now. Okay? Eyes. Okay, so seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. So how can you possibly see, touch, hear, walk, do things, even speak without them? Because this is one Shabad, but the Shabad after this, Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, they're even saying that the person, how can the person that has no arms, how can they hug God? Right? How can somebody that has no arms, that person is still able to hug God? How is that possible? So this is explaining the difference between the physical and the non-physical. It's vital you understand this before moving forward. So this is going to come with the next part of that line where they say Jeebbe bajon bolna eon jeevat marna. This is how you die whilst living. Okay? Eon jeevat marna. So you must have heard a word called mar jeevade before. Mar jeevade, you've heard this word before? Right? Mar jeevade is for somebody who's dead whilst living. Anybody who's given their head to the Guru is a mar jeevada. Because you've killed your own intellect by giving yourself to the Guru. This is the whole purpose. The whole reason why Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Pacha created such a beautiful and perfect system, which maybe we do not understand, but Maharaj says first thing, just kill yourself, then you can continue on and you can continue studying after that. Because then you'll actually be able to get your panda ready to be able to put everything else inside of. Because if you don't have that panda already, then everything that else goes inside of that, it won't make any sense. So when they say jibbe bajjon bolna, yon jeevat marna nanak hukum pachan ke to khasma milna. ठीक है? So that is the last line, nanak hukum pachan ke. By understanding what the hukum is, this is how you meet God. Nanak hukum pachan ke to khasma milna. So jibbe bajjon bolna yon jeevat marna, you die whilst living. So it's not something that's done physically, it's something that's much beyond that as well. With these eyes you can see this world, but you kill your eyes from this world. Even though your eyes are still seeing, it's not saying that you go blind. Your asthool is still there. But anything that's coming you and pulling you towards the world is not pulling you towards the world anymore, because even with your eyes, you're not seeing this world, you're seeing God now. So your eyes are dead to the world. Get it? Your ears are dead to the world now. You don't care if somebody says something good about you, something bad to you. Why? Because the physical does not matter. Nothing pulls you towards anything physical. So there's no way that you can be wooed by using lust, or being seduced to buy something or do something, or your mind can be trapped in a sort of lustful way, or by giving you money or showing you something spectacular through the eyes. You can't be pulled down, persuaded through that way, either by hearing, through sounds or other things like that. Sweet talk even, right? Somebody could come up to you and they could very easily sweet talk you into doing things, right? They could easily go and just do these drugs. They're so good. You'll try them out, and you're such a nice person. I can make you emotionally comfortable. I can make you feel good, right? I'm not saying I would do that, but I'm just saying somebody can come to you and they can emotionally make you feel good, and you'll be like, wow, this is what I've been longing for, this sweetness. But that's not what true sweetness is. That is just a cover up. It's poison that's covered up with a flavor, right? It's actually pulling you away from your true marg, which we spoke in the Shabad yesterday. What was the Shabad? Har bin Jio jal bal jao, main apna gur pooch dekhya agar nahi thao. Other than my Sache Satguru, there is nothing. And then Maharaj explains different things that we go after. Even if you achieve all those things, that's nothing. Even if you achieve worldly comfort, that is not what you want, right? Somebody can easily sweet talk you and put things in your ear, but your ears are now dead to the world. The only thing that you listen to is the Sachai from Akal Purkh, because you now have that gyan. You are dead to every mar jivada, right? Jivat marna. You are dead to everything else now, but you are alive on the inside. Now you have truly awoken on the inside. Your inside is awoken. So your ears, eyes, obviously the katha vichar of this Shabad in itself can go for hours. Right? I'm just going to sankhep roop vich, brief form, just go through this. Your ears are dead to it. Paira badjon chalana. Your feet itself, first your feet would make you walk from one distance to the other, but now walking to this path is not something done physical. Yes, your feet do walk towards the Sadh Sangat. And those feet are in Gurbani, they're called beautiful. They're called such great feet. They're called tan. They're called great. Those feet that walk to the Guru's dar to get that darshan. Right? That is one concept. But here it's speaking about even your feet. They don't travel from one place to the other. They don't travel to what the world tells you to place, or from point A to point B, because that internal thing, it is everywhere. Oh, Braham Swarup sare paase hi hai. Is inside you and outside of you. So whether you're walking outside physically or you're walking internally, you're actually going to the same place, because it's not a physical realm anymore. Right? But physically your feet are still there and you're still walking around. Does that make sense? You're still walking around because the Asthool is still there, Sookhsham is still there, but now because the Karan is gone, you've completely died on the inside. Okay? So now your feet itself, you can walk that marg without feet. You don't even have to have physical feet. Paira bajun chalana bin hatha karna. Your hands can do great karms. Your hands are a karmindra. Right? Your hands can do great. Indra means body part, by the way. Right? When you hear the word indriya, it also means body parts. So with hands, you could do tasks in this world. You could do seva. But there's certain sevas that can't be done for Akal Purkh. There's certain sevas can't be done with these hands. These hands are no longer able to do, even though you have hands. But that marg is not with these hands either. Jibbe bajjon bolana. Now, By you speaking, you could speak many, many things to the world. And you can taste many things in this world. With this tongue, this juban of yours is there, but now you're not communicating with the world anymore. Your whole direction of life is something different now. Because who do you actually communicate with now? There's a shabad in Gurbani, you have to understand this pangati. This is, actually we should have spoken about this the very first day before speaking about anything. They say, Pagatan teh sansariyan jod kade na aya. That the Pagats and the Sansari lok, the worldly lok, jod kade na aya. That they have never ever, since the beginning of time till now, they've never been able to come together. Somebody from here, they want to go traveling west. Somebody who wants to go east. Even though they might be best friends, they can't travel together. Why? Because it's opposite directions. It's completely opposite. There's no way you'll be able, even though you can still be friends. You can still know each other, but you must walk your opposite ways. This is the truth. But where is Sadh Sangat found? When you start walking that direction, somebody else might be traveling east as well. Until your destination is the same, then Sangat is the same. As soon as your destination is now different, then it goes two different ways. Then it's two different paths. So if you want to walk the internal path, can this happen? Somebody might be sitting there, right? Two people might be sitting. It's not a physical path that you're walking. Because somebody might be sitting there, and somebody might want to have a conversation about, those Satya Gun, or somebody might be wanting to actually think about not being affected by pain or pleasure, finding internal peace. The other person might be only and only looking out to please others. That the meaning of their life might be just to please others. So no matter, you might be saying, I don't care about pleasing others, I care about me pleasing Akal Purkh, so I get that kirpa, so I can actually walk this path of love. But the other person doesn't understand love. Then for that time, for you to sit down and do sadhana together, to do Sadh Sangat together, it's going to be very difficult. Right? Obviously you do ardas, harbat da pala. That's a whole different concept. Ye saaryan vaste ardas karni hai. Nobody is good or bad though. You have no right to say anybody is good or bad. It's just your path is separate than what the world is saying. Your path, the Pagats don't walk the way of the world. They walk the way Pagatan ki chal nirali. Challa nirali Pagatan keri bikhama marg chala. They walk this difficult path, which is different than everybody else says. This is weird, this is difficult. People threw rocks. People tied up Pagat Kabir ji. Right? People tried to kill all the Pagats. People slapped Guru Nanak Dev Ji, threw rocks at them and hit them with sticks as well. Why? Because some people called them monstrous, somebody called them ghostly. All of these things were there because even the Guru that you say that we are walking this path, and all your friends might be walking that path, either at one point the entire world was against that being as well, that Satguru as well. So it's not about pleasing people. If you are going after pleasing people and somebody else is going towards the Sachai, the truth and the false are completely two different paths. So either choose truth or choose falseness. This is how in Gurbani, they say, what is the meaning of true Sangat? Sat Sangat kaisi jani hai? And the answer to that is jithe eko naam vakhani hai. The Sat Sangat is that, the true Sat Sangat is jithe eko naam, the true naam is being described and being experienced. If the true naam and the sachai, what is naam? Naam is just sachai, naam is the truth, even though that's a completely different topic. You can listen to katha on that, on what naam is. But in this, naam is Akal Purkh in itself. So where an Akal Purkh is being experienced, with that connection with a shabad, with the naam of Akal Purkh is being spoken and described, and people are walking and connecting to that, then that is true Sangat. Whether it might look physical or not physical, as if it should be Sangat or not be Sangat according to the world. Because this Visha is not about the world in itself. So the whole purpose of these first few days was just to put the world and everything physical off onto one side. Because then when we start getting into more adhyatm things, then it's not going to be speaking anything to even do with the physical body. The problem is, majority of the world is stuck with the physical body. If you tell someone you are not this physical body, they will get completely confused. Because they'll be like, what am I? They might say, what do you mean? This body is who I am. my mind thinks, it's my bones. If you say something deep, they might think heart, right? Or something emotional, they'll be like, that was so deep, right? Because it's just emotional for them. But this is beyond that as well. You go with emotion. Emotion is what takes that pyar there. But your emotion is not with the world. Your emotion is not for the world, what the world thinks. It's not negative emotion or emotion towards the feeling of the world. It's only for the feeling of Akal Purkh. That's it, right? So when somebody says, that was so good, that was so emotional, you have to see, was that emotional for the world or emotional for a Sache Pacha Akal Purkh? Because it's completely two different worlds, right? Somebody walking that world will not understand what walking this world is like, because this world will seem completely like monstrous. It'll be foreign to them, because they'll say this is very difficult. They'll be like, why would you want to completely go, this is the most insane thing that I've ever heard. Because their Vishay Vikar, their ras, the ras or the flavor they get is all from the world. They don't get it from Bhakti. If somebody doesn't get the ras from Bhakti, then they can't walk that path. If somebody must first understand and experience those things, because even this is why Gyan is very difficult to explain to those people who even have shut off in their own mind to close the blinds. And if imagine you're in a room, you've closed all the blinds, and you're saying, no matter what, I'm not listening whatsoever. The sun is still shining outside. The sun is still there. The sun is not going to stop shining. The sun, just because you close the blinds, the sun doesn't go away, right? But if you open the blinds, even a little bit of that blind, the light comes in and you can actually see what's inside of that room, right? You can see what's inside of that room. So with that same concept in mind, Nanak hukam pachan ke thokha samay milna. But understanding what that hukam is, hukam eko naam hukam hai gur sat gur diya bachaye, with the Guru's kirpa. By understanding what Guru Sahib is saying, only and only can you take that gyan. If you guys don't take that gyan in and bring it in, then it's very difficult, right? If you don't try to bring that gyan inside of your life, then it'd just be andhera. You could be sitting there, but you've closed all the blinds. If you do, that's you saying that I don't even recognize my own Guru. Gur Satguru, the only true Satguru can give you that true gyan. There's so much gyan in this world, right? But that true gyan that can actually take away your andhakar from the inside, that in itself is Sache Pita Akal Purkh. That is the Gur Satgur Diya Bajaye Jio, the true gyan there, right? So that's why it's two completely different paths. Somebody walking that path can't walk that path. Somebody walking the east must completely turn around and start walking the west, or vice versa, right? So this is why Sadh Sangat ka aisi journey jithe ekko naam vakhani with the truth. That is your mission, that is your home, that is the place that you want to walk into. Completely separating the Asthool from the Sooksham now. Does the Asthool make more sense to you guys now? Or Asthool? So your physical body, physical sounds, physical looks, physical things, anything to do with this world is Asthool. Sooksham is things that are part of your mind. How does your mind in itself connect to the Asthool now? Because there's both linked to each other. You'd be like, but what do you mean? I see the world, it's right in front of me. You can't doubt that either, because it is right here. You can't say it's not there. And here's where it comes from, your Gyan Indre. Your eyes see something. If you were blind, I've shared this before. I want you guys to imagine you're blind now, right? Imagine you're blind. Close your eyes if you need to. You're blind now. You can't see anything anymore. And you might be thinking that now the world, the seeing, my vision is not there anymore, but I can still hear, I can still touch, I can still smell, I can still hear all of this kind of stuff. So you might say, even though I might be blind for the rest of my life, but with the hearing I can still interact with the world. Even though the information, what is Gyan? In this meaning it's using the word knowledge, the art of knowledge. Through your eyes, the reason why it's a Gyan Indra is because it's taking the Gyan from what it receives, giving it to your mind, and your mind is using that. Because if it wasn't for your eyes, then you wouldn't be able to get the Gyan. The reason why I know this camera is in front of me is because my eyes can see it. And because my eyes can see it, it's telling my mind this camera is there, or this person is there in front of me. But if my eyes are closed, maybe somebody might move and I might still be thinking that there's a person there, because my eyes don't have that Gyan. But here's the thing, the eyes, they can be tricked. right? Any of the Gyan Indra can be tricked. Anything that you are receiving into your mind can be tricked, and it has been tricked. Just like that lion, even though your eyes might be tricked, your eyes can be tricked, but your mind can be tricked as well. Just like that lion is looking into that well, and it's saying that this is another lion. It looks exactly like a lion, sounds exactly like a lion, but no, to it is not a lion. It is a different lion. It's an enemy. It's a foreigner for it, and it's its own ankar that comes in front and says no, because it's a gyan inside the mind. Even though the eyes might not be tricked. So, your eyes are seeing and they're bringing things. If you are blind, then you can't see this world. Now imagine yourself going deaf. You can't hear anything either. That's another Gyan Indra. But you'll be like, I can still smell, I can still feel. I can probably feel my way around the world. Or with a stick, I can probably just figure things out and still walk. But now what if you can't feel anything either? You can't smell anything. There's no sense of smell. You lose your sense of perception of where you're left or right or up and down. Somebody might pick you up. You don't because you've lost sense of touch. You don't know somebody is touching you. You have no idea. Somebody's picking you up, taking you to one place or the other. You have no idea. You're completely unknown to that. You don't even know you're in hospital bed in a coma or unconscious or whatever it is. But what at that moment there's still something. What is still there? Even though the five senses are not there, there's still something. What is that something? If imagine you lost all of your five senses right now, today, what is there still? You are still thinking. Even though you have lost, you might still be thinking like, what's going on? You might be confused. Because your mind might be still going in the background. Right? Because you know something. You might be, but when you went blind, you might be like, man, I can't see green anymore, but I still know what green looks like because I've seen it once. Because you have the gyan of it before. You know what the blue skies look like because you've seen them before. But if you haven't ever seen them, then what would you know? What if you were born without the five senses? What if you were born and you couldn't see, hear, touch, smell, taste, nothing? What would there be then? You lose all your senses. Now you still remember your mother and father. You still remember your friends. You would still remember what happiness, pain, pleasure, all of these things look like. You still remember what hot and cold feels like. You still have those memories. But what if you were born like that and you had nothing had actually gone into your mind yet? What would there still be? Yeah, black, or not, just no thought in general, right? Right? You wouldn't be thinking anything, but you might be, you might not be, because there's been no thought, even no gyan being put into that mind yet. So your chit, right, your memory bank is still like a blank memory card, right? Because there's nothing gone into it yet. But there's still one thing that's there. What is that? That you are still separated from Akal Purkh, right? You're not, in that moment, you're still not experiencing what the divine Sache Pita Akal Purkh's Anand, the Anand Sroop is. Even though, Barni vich vi on that, when you're in the womb of the mother, you're in Samadhi with Akal Purkh. You're in Samadhi with Akal Purkh, and when you're in Samadhi, when you come out into this world, you feel that pain of separation, and that is where in the womb of the mother, Akal Purkh, right in the midst of fire, Akal Purkh is taking care of you. Thodi parvarish karda. He's protecting you there. He's growing you. He's taking care of you there. And you're in Samadhi there. Because of that Samadhi, because of that Anand, there's no pain going upon you at the moment. But now you're separated. Now things start going into your mind. Now you've built an identity of yourself. If you're a child, you don't even know there's supposed to be a mother and father if you're born without senses. If you can't feel anybody touching you. Later on you develop mama, dada. You develop all these things. You are taught that this is a law in this country. You are taught this is right and this is wrong. All of these things are taught. But now let's move away from everything physical. Let's go into the Sooksham. right? Moving everything away from the physical. This is what Asthool Sareer is. But in that moment, there's still something that is Sookhsham. Your mind inside is getting this gyan from the outside and is going inside. Those are through the gyan and this is how your mind, your Sookhsham interacts with the Asthool. Everything is intertwined. The karan is there as well. The reason for your separation. So using that gyan and using this way to interact with the world, you can either become more and keep on building your identity. The point of you coming onto this world was to recognize your separation, use this and become one with the Kalpurk. What you've come, you've just kept on gaining and padding more onto your own identity, becoming more of yourself, and you've completely become separated. And you die with that identity. I've done this in my life. My legacy is this. That's what you die with. It's just a big my. Is when you let go of that I, when you let go of that legacy and you do it for something else. This is, the concepts of seva, concepts of all these things. Even though you are doing something, it eternally or ultimately you are still doing seva for your own benefit. But why are you getting shanti from it? Why is seva giving you shanti? Because you are not in yourself anymore. You are outside somewhere else. You're doing it for something else. You've taken yourself out of there. And if your entire life's mission becomes that thing for not yourself, this is what true love is. Pare main. Your main goes away, just pare kar do, mainu, and there's just love left. And that in itself, that is what true shanti, true anand actually is, losing yourself. All of course concepts of seva, that's a different topic. But for now, keeping this in mind, moving away from the I. You came into this world to recognize that pain is separation. I didn't finish complete speaking about this yesterday, but I spoke about the first rag is Shri Rag, the last rag is Jajavanti. They're both rags of separation. Through the different rags, there are different emotions. Kalyan is happiness, right? There's other rags that have different emotions to it. But Shri Rag is separation, Jajavanti is separation. What is the separation of? First, Shri Rag is crying out in pain. You're feeling the separation from Akal Purkh. You feel the separation. You recognize that Akal Purkh is over there, main the bitha main fas gaya. And now Jajavanti at the very end is speaking, where Guru Tegh Bahadur Sache Pacha, where they are in Bairaag. Right? There's three types of Bairaag as well. Right? One is Bairaag, where you are recognizing the separation from you and Akal Purkh. That is the first type of Bairaag, right? You are separated from Akal Purkh, and that is Bairaag. The second Bairaag is where you are crying out for love from Akal Purkh and you've given up everything from the world. Meaning you've become detached from the world and you're crying out and you only care about Akal Purkh. That is, you care about nothing else. That is the second type of Bairaag. And there's a third type of Bairaag where you've become one with Akal Purkh. You've completely, now first you were caught up into the world and you're calling towards Akal Purkh. Now you're caught up into Akal Purkh and you're saying the world is separated from me. You're separated from the world. That your detachment from the world. So you're connected to one, you're moving away, and then you're connected to Akal Purkh. And now you're saying that the world is separated. That's why Jajavanti is the rag where you're completely one. And that's why if you read Guru Tegh Bahadur Maharaj's Bani, it's completely Bairagmay. It's completely detached. It's speaking about, there's three types of avasthas, speaking about old, young, youthfulness, and old age. Right? Teen avastha jan, where they speak about that, and they're saying life is like this, supane jo sansar, why don't you guys recognize? Guru Tegh Bahadur Maharaj's Bani at the end, they're straight up saying, stop wasting your time. Get on to what you're supposed to be doing. Right? Don't waste your time in other types of things. Because they're looking at it from a different perspective. They're saying, "Bacche je ki karde rinde hai?" Whether it be a bajurg bachcha for them. Sache pacha pa ek pita ek kaske hum barak. Tu mera gurhai. We're all those bacche, but they're saying, "Kari ki janda." What is this bachcha doing? Completely lost. They feel the pain for that bachcha, for that child. And they're saying, I wish I could help you read this Bani and understand. I wish I could put some gyan into you, but you're not understanding right now. It's like that lion, no matter what you tell that lion, if you say that's a different lion, if you get stuck in the middle of that situation, that lion's going to eat you as well. Right? It's going to eat you. Because it's just full of ankar, it's just in itself. That's why the mehma of the Guru, the mehma of the Sangat is so important. Right? Bhagta tੈ sansariyan jod kar dinaya. That's the first thing that you have to recognize. Completely moving away from that and completely connecting to Akal Purkh. This is what the whole concept of Braham Vidhiya is. Moving away from what you think the world, what you are, what you base your entire life off of, and you moving inwards to the Sookhsham, recognizing the mind. But the mind, we'll speak about next time, is the mind is still in itself. Even though you might be separated from the world, you can still, your mind is still separated from Akal Purkh, because your Sookhsham Sareer in itself is still made up of this I. When you are if you were trying to get rid of your home at the I by basing it off of the world, that's not going to work either, because then you're actually just building upon it. Even though to you it might feel like you're actually doing something good. You might feel that you're actually serving yourself, you're doing something better. You're spending your time in a useful way, but useful according to who? To yourself? To the world? But no, it's not truthful according to the Sach itself, towards Akal Purkh. So ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ you take it, bring it upon yourself, and you start moving in towards that. I think we're going to stop it here, right? Just because there's a lot of things we threw out, and then I want you guys to catch up on the previous things as well. Next time we'll go into the lecture of sadhus and things like that, of how it is that for that enlightened being to be like. Then, so you can recognize that and actually go and do their sangat. And then we're going to speak more about the Sookhsham Sareer. Right? And then later on we're going to get into Tat Tavan Is, just an intro into that. Tat Tavan in Is. Anyways, so Niyam Vicharan Kardiyan, I probably made many mistakes. Please forgive me. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru